Welcome aboard Rocket Ship, the platform with the most relevant content for competitive examinations. As part of our answer writing series on general studies papers of civil service main examination, we bring to you a question that might appear in GS paper 2. So the question goes like, the local self-government system in India has failed to realize its potential. Examine, suggest ways to improve the situation. As we can see, the question has two parts. In the first part, we have to examine the failure of a local self-government system in India to realize its full potential as far as its various objectives are concerned. We have to uh, actually write some of the reasons why it has failed in realizing its potential. And in the second part, we have to suggest ways to improve the present situation to ensure that the present lacunae are cured, present lacunae are gone in the long term so that it ultimately realizes its potential. Now, before we take up the actual model answer, there is something very important to discuss, which is called the 3F framework. It is so important that even UPSC, even the commission has already mentioned it in one of the past mains papers. What the 3F framework is all about, it says that for effective functioning of local bodies, the prime requirements are 3Fs, that is, funds, functions, and functionaries. It is these 3Fs which define whether the local bodies would be able to function effectively. Taking up the first F, that is funds, what it means that the local bodies should have autonomous financial power, that it should not be too much dependent on the state government, for an example, for its financial needs. Then comes functions. Its functions should be well defined so that there is no overlap of responsibilities with any other administrative or government body. Then coming to functionaries, it should have access to well-trained, skilled and well-trained manpower. So these three things, that is autonomous financial power, funds, functions, that is well-defined functions where there is no overlap, and skilled and well-trained functionaries define how effective a local body would be able to function. Now the actual answer, we would go a little bit into the historical background of the evolution of local bodies in India, in which the two important landmarks are the 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendments, which were passed in the year 1992. And with these constitutional amendments, great hope was reposed in the potential of local self-government. It was thought that not only they would serve as instruments of grassroots democratization but also act as instruments of development planning and supervision. You might recall that the 73rd constitutional amendment accorded constitutional status on panchayats, and the 74th constitutional amendment accorded similar status on the urban local bodies. And their objective, the objective of these two constitutional amendments was first to lead to effective grassroots democratization, and second also to you can say eventually develop the local bodies into instruments of planning supervision, effective planning and supervision. But we can see that in the last 3 decades or so, that is since 1992, panchayats and urban local bodies have a mixed bag performance. That is, in some of the tasks they have performed quite well, on some of the tasks they have not been able to do as well. They have indeed promoted democratization. We know that they have empowered women and deprived sections. For an example, these two sections, women and deprived sections, like the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes persons, etc., have reservation in the seats of local bodies, in panchayats and urban local bodies too. But in turn, in development planning and execution, they have come short. That is given out by, that is a clean giveaway by deficient physical and social infrastructure and rampant flouting of rules and bylaws, which support the conclusion that their potential remains unrealized. We can take up the recent example of the tragedy that happened at Rao's IAS circle to say that there is flouting of rules. For example, the flouting of building bylaws. So we can say in both physical and as far as both physical and social infrastructure and implementation and enforcement of laws and bylaws are concerned, the local bodies have come quite short. But naturally, the question arises, why local government has not been able to attain its full potential? This is due to many reasons, of which are lack of funds, that is the first F of the 3F framework. They lack autonomy in which leads to autonomy in expenditure, lack of funds leads to lack of autonomy in expenditure. When you do not have autonomy as far as your finances are concerned, you cannot say that you would take some, for example, some program or scheme autonomously without consulting the state government, even if they are required at the grassroots level. Then this is a straightforward point, that there is lack of trained manpower to plan and supervise. There is overlap in responsibilities. For example, between various local bodies, among various local bodies, this may lead to tough wars, ego clashes, etc. State governments have failed to effectively delegate. Probably they want to hog all the power themselves. Then this point is also important. That is democratic failure. One of whose symptoms is capture by dominant groups. That the local bodies have been captured by dominant groups. For example, caste groups, powerful people, etc. Now, taking up the first point, that is lack of autonomy as far as financial power is concerned. We know that Article 280 provides for a Fin Commission, that is Finance Commission, to advise on distribution of tax proceeds between the union as well as among the states. There is similar provision for the panchayats and urban local bodies too. That is Article 243I, which provides for a state finance commission to advise on devolution of finances to panchayats. Article 243I provides for a state finance commission to advise on devolution to finances to panchayats, and Article 243Y to urban local bodies. Please underline these two articles, Article 243I and Article 243Y. Despite this, states have been less than forthcoming. What it actually means is states make too much hue and cry, they complain when they think that the Finance Commission has not been able to give them their due share in the devoluted tax proceeds. But they are not as enthusiastic about applying this same principle as far as the local bodies are concerned. For an example, the Union Finance Commission recommends that at least 32% of the tax proceeds should go to the states. But you can ask yourself whether the state governments are ready to devolve similar 32% to the local bodies. The answer is no. So, and what happens? This lack of own tax revenue means local governments lack flexibility and autonomy as far as conceiving plans and also implementing those plans are concerned. Moreover, the local bodies lack trained and skilled manpower for planning and supervision. This is a straightforward point. There are overlaps in responsibilities, like between Zilla Parishad and ULBs. This leads to tough wars, blame games, etc. We can understand it from the example of a place that is in the outskirts of a city. And in this for an example, the people who reside in this place in the outskirts of a city, they make representation to the local body. For an example, the municipality or the municipal commission to build a road through their area. This is again a well lived example. This is a lived experience that the municipal corporation says that this is actually the responsibility of the Zilla Parishad. What happens here that the municipal corporation is, while they are technically quite right, but they are evading responsibility. So when there is overlap of responsibilities, there is not well defined, well demarcated responsibilities, it leads to blame game, as was the case here, and it may also lead to turf wars due to ego clashes and so on. Then state governments are loath to delegate functions to local governments, as we were discussed in the 3Fs, that this second F is about functions. So the state governments are not ready to delegate functions to the local governments. Now, what are the suggestions we can make? The local bodies should have well defined financial powers. How can it be ensured? First, a state should work in the spirit of federalism. We are not mentioning it here, but they should work in the spirit of federalism. They should apply the same principle in regard to the local bodies as they want to be applied in their relation with the union. Moreover, the Union Finance Commission recommendations should be commensurate with state's share under Finance Commission recommendations. What is specifically meant here, as we were discussing, if the Union Finance Commission says that X% of the tax proceeds should go to the states, states have this responsibility that they should devolve almost a similar proportion, that is something similar to X% to the local bodies too. Moreover, this is a novel suggestion, but it has been often made, that taxes like agricultural income, which are till now free from income taxes, professional taxes, etc., should be completely devolved to local bodies. For your information, what happens now that there is a cap on professional taxes. I am not sure about the actual cap, but maybe it's something like not more than 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. And what happens, even if a professional were to be earning something like 25 lakh rupees a year, he would still be liable to pay only 5 to 6,000 rupees of professional tax. What has been suggested that after a particular, you can say particular range, for an example, having annual income of more than 5 lakh rupees, there should be a professional tax rate that would be you can say that would be according to a progressive rate system. For an example, someone earning 10 lakh rupees should be required to pay 1% of professional tax. Someone earning 25 lakh rupees a year should be required to pay more than that. This is what has been suggested. The second Administrative Reform Commission suggested effective delegation recognizing the principle of subsidiarity. Read it again, the principle of subsidiarity. This is an inelegantly worded term, but what it actually means that the tasks which can be performed at certain level should not be performed at higher level. We would understand it by giving an example. Suppose there was to be a road to be built in a village. The principle of subsidiarity says that the road must be built by the village panchayat itself. rather than by the state public work department. This is the actual principle of subsidiarity in operation here. That is, the task of building the road should be performed by panchayat, because the panchayat can actually get the road built, and it should not be performed by a level higher than the panchayat, in case the state government through its state public works department. That is, this principle of subsidiarity, as we have just discussed, it says that only those tasks should be performed by higher level bodies which the local bodies cannot perform. Then, effective supervisory mechanism like district audit committee should be in place to undertake financial and performance audits. It's not just that the local bodies should enjoy financial autonomy, but they should be accountable too, and they should be accountable to the expenditure and performance of their plans, expenditure on and performance of their plans to the district audit committee and similar bodies. Now the conclusion is, with autonomous financial power, effective delegation of functions to local bodies in a true federal sense, in a true federal spirit, as we have discussed, that the state should apply the same federal principle to the local bodies as they want to be applied in their relation with the union government, and having supervisory mechanisms in place would ensure that the local bodies would be able to realize their full potential. You could mention so many other things. For an example, there is something called DPC, that is the District Planning Committee, which is provided by Article 243 ZD. Till now, this is a planning and supervisory body. This is a planning and supervisory body. DPC, that is the District Planning Committee, is a planning and supervisory body provided by Article 243 ZD. Till now, its potential has not been realized. It has not been effective body actually, but we can reform this body to provide actual supervision as well as plan conception for the local bodies. Anyway, that is how we sum up our answer for today. We meet again for the next lecture in a few days. As usual, we wish you all the best. Thank you.